Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, Mr. and Mrs. Colorado America. How are you? We hope that you're well. We are broadcasting to you here live from the Muse Performance Space in the lovely downtown area of the thriving metropolis of Lafayette, Colorado. Thank you. So we're going to start with a tune, and we'll play first, and then I'll do some blathering as I'm wont to do. So we'll just start off with a tune that was written by Burton Lane for a musical called Finian's Rainbow in 1947, and it's something we had fun with. It's entitled Old Devil Moon. Hold on. I got to cue it up on my... September is Black History Month. So the remainder of the tunes will be tunes which were composed by African American composers. Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who was the second African American to earn a PhD from Harvard University, conceptualized the Negro History Week, as it was first referred to. He said, because, he said, my people, these are I'm paraphrasing the words of Dr. Woodson, my people have helped make America the country that it is. So I think that the accomplishments that we have achieved should be recognized. Well, thank God for the dream of Dr. Carter G. Woodson, which has become a celebration of Black History Month. That having been said, the next tune we're going to do is a tune that was written by the wonderfully gifted, fantastically immortal Ahmad Jamal. Now, Ahmad Jamal, many people know, he did a great album entitled Live at the Pershing, and Ahmad Jamal has the distinction of having the only jazz tune which stayed on the top 10 for 104 weeks. That was when he did his signature version of Poinciana in 1957-58. Well, Ahmad Jamal composed this thing. Those of you who know music know that blues come in, there's 12-bar blues, 16-bar blues. This tune is entitled Night Mist Blues, but it's not a blues because all it is 8 measures repeated. That's all it is. So anyway, we're going to have fun with Ahmad Jamal's Night Mist Blues. You know, I got it. Thank you. We have a wonderful audience here. It's a very on-team audience, but it's a very animated audience. So now it's up to me, the old geezer here at the piano, to introduce the members of this lively aggregation. Well, we're going to start off in the front. I'm just going to nickname him Freddie Freeloader. No, Freddie Fedora, because he's got this wonderful collection. He makes the hat makers happy, because he's got this outstanding, he and Charlie Brill have an outstanding collection of hats. By the way, we are sending out a shout to our favorite centenarian, Charlie Brown, also to Dr. Renee Cousins-King and many others of you. That is Ed Stephen over there. Yeah. And we have this young line. One thing I love about jazz is that it's very intergenerational. And jazz really is one of the greatest art forms because it transcends socioeconomic barriers. I shouldn't say barriers, but distinctions. And also it transcends all ethnic distinctions. You know, and jazz is what it is. It's America's music. It was invented here. The only art form created in the Western Hemisphere. It is distinctly American, and we exported it to the world. That having been said, there's that young driver in the back over there, Mr. Bill Larson. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, the young man who's caressing that bass back there, you know, the bass players have nicknames. You know, there was the mule, the senator, the judge. Here come the judge. Well, here come the deacon. And I'm going, that's Deacon Ron Bland back there because he plays some sanctified church music. And I say, hey, Deacon, go on. Ron Bland on bass? Yes. And the young man playing the solid body guitar. By the way, Ed, I want you to hold your guitars up to the audience so they can see the difference. Ed's got a hollow body. This young man to my immediate left here is a great young man, a great classical composer, filmmaker. He's a genius. Has composed about 200 pieces of Brazilian music. And I'm talking about His Eminence, Vohn Regensburger. And I want to tell you something. This is a reunion of professor and student. 35 years ago, Vohn launched his career on the guitar with Ed Stephen. So we welcome Vohn Regensburger. And I'm Purnell Steen. That's just me, you know. And we're known as LeJazz Machine, and our mission is to play and perpetuate the sounds of 5 points that I heard. I'm a native Denverite, and I heard the sounds of 5 points as a child. And we love to swing, and it don't mean a thing if it don't swing, baby. So that's us. And here's a tune that was written by, if you don't know who Charlie Burrell is, he was the first African American. This is Black History Month. He is a history maker. He was the first African American in the entire world. I will repeat that. The very first African American in the entire world to get a symphony contract when he came to Denver in 1949. He's a gifted classical bass player, was raised in Detroit, and is also equally as gifted on the jazz bass. And the reason why I know so much about him is because I was there when he made his debut in 1949. I am his first cousin. And I was there at that time. I was 8 years old, so you can do the math and figure it out. Well, anyway, Oscar Pettiford wrote this tune. And it is called Blues in the Closet, but sometimes when you get down deep in Harlem, or no, up in Harlem, 125th and Amsterdam, it's called Collards and Mustard. And then when you get to 26 and Welton here in Denver, Colorado at 5 points, it's called Chitlins and Collards. So here we are, watch this. The bass player and the two guitar players are going to take the melody lead. Have at it, boys. Yeah. One thing about it, we took those blues out of the closet and brought them to you. We hope that you are having a good time and are enjoying what you see and what you're hearing. We do have an account at it's Venmo at Purnell Steen, and also PayPal account. If you feel like dropping a farthing, a sou, a franc, a shekel, if you want to get biblical, a shekel, it doesn't matter, a yen, a won, we can go on and on, peseta, we can go on and on and on. The one great thing about jazz, as I said earlier, this is America's music, and I've been fortunate enough to have lived abroad in Europe, toured in North Africa, and I've been in places where I could not speak the language, but the music is the language. And the great thing about this great forum is that it is intergenerational, as I said before, and we have to encourage whatever you do in any endeavor, please encourage give the youth credit. Let them know that we're behind them and what they do. The youth of today, they're tomorrow's leaders. And we'll know that when we're long gone. By the way, and I have to give just a moment of silence for the great Chick Corea who passed yesterday. About 15 seconds of silence, please, in honor of Chick Corea. Thank you very much. He was an amazing person. I was reading part of his obituary, won 22 Grammys. Yes, he was an incredible musician. Well, nonetheless, we're about to bring a young man up on the stage who came into our lives in 2019. And he is an incredibly talented young man. And he's gifted, and he's incredibly nice, and his family, I've just embraced them. I said, they're my they're my niece, nephew, sister, brother, whatever. And we're going to introduce to you Mr. Cokie Renwick, who is a great talented trumpet player. And I'll tell you what, he's all of sweet 16. And he's going to do a tune tonight. This was, I think, one of the first songs he did with us at Dazzle when we were there. It's a song which was composed in 1964 by Horace Silver. Horace Silver was from his ancestral heritage is Portuguese. He was from the Cape Verdean Islands, which are the islands off the west coast of Portugal. And he grew up in Norwalk, Connecticut. And in 1964, he took his band to Brazil, and he was captivated by that. There's something about that Brazilian influence, right, Vohn? When it gets in your bones, the carioca, man. And when the carioca get in your bones, man, and, everything just goes haywire. So anyway, he fell in love with the Brazilian beat and so forth. And then he wrote this homage to his father, and he expanded this into an album which was released in 1965, entitled, the title cut is from that, and it's simply entitled Song for My Father. Koki, you are at the Denver School of the Arts, correct? And are you still meeting virtually, or are you still doing? And this young man is so talented, and he's a great entrepreneur. He's going to make money in the music business. He's not going to starve like the rest of us. I tell you what, because his family did something that was so unique. They had jazz on Grape Street. This was last summer, and was it every week? On what, Monday? Friday? Okay. But yeah, jazz, this is in Park Hill, jazz on Grape Street. So we welcome Mr. Cokie Renwick, and he's here with his mother and father, Jim and Yuki, and he has a talented brother, Shota, who is attending NEC, and for you on initiative, that is the New England Conservatory of Music. And Shota is a sax player, correct? Yeah. Okay. Enough said. Here is Mr. Cokie Renwick. Yeah. Mr. Koki, take a bow, Koki. Remember the name because when he wins his first Grammy, I want you all to be there to support him and his family. We're going to bring him back a little later on. That was Koki. Great, man. It's a beautiful playing. Glad to see you again. This is so great. See, this is what I'm talking. This is what makes America great. It's this kind of love, and it's this kind of positivity. Guess what? I went to school to say positivity. And guess what? And my teeth didn't even fall out. Anyway, those of you who know me know that I just have this undying, devotional, adulational, iconic love affair with a man whom I deem, in my very, very humble opinion, to be the greatest composer who ever lived, especially in terms of the volume of his work. He is the man, we have it on, it's authenticated irrefutably that he signed over 2,800 pieces of music. They were all handwritten. This was before these electronic programs like Finale and Sebastian and so forth. And I'm speaking of Mr. Edward Kennedy, alias Duke Ellington. You know, Duke Ellington was at the Cotton Club in Harlem for 11 years. He wrote a complete review show once a month, lyrics, composed the review music for what was ostensibly a black can-can show. He played at the Club Alabama. He played at Menton's later on, but this was in the 20s. He went to Duke, he was born in Washington, D.C., and Duke Ellington started off, he loved baseball and took piano lessons, got off the piano, got back. Somebody said, man, you need to get back on the piano. That's how you can get the girls. So thank God he said, all right, I want to get the women, the ladies. He called them ladies. So he started playing around, and then Duke Ellington was born in 1899, and in 1923, he had the absolute unbridled temerity to leave Washington and go to that great big, huge metropolitan city called New York City. And he arrived on the scene with a band which he called the Washingtonians. So they were playing at the Club Alabama and all the places in Harlem, and then pretty soon his band just really attracted the Cafe Society, the White Cafe Society, who came uptown from lower Manhattan to see this phenomenal group. Duke Ellington was one of the most impeccably dressed men ever. He was always known as the maestro. He was always impeccably groomed. Many times the band played in white tails. He had at one time the highest paid band in the entire world. And I have it on great authority when Clark Terry was here about 20 years ago. Clark and my cousin Charles Burrell served in the segregated United States Navy during World War II in Waukegan, Illinois. And Clark said he was playing with Lester Landon's Society Band after World War II, and he was making, I think, about $80 a week. So Lester Landon fired him, said he was too progressive. He went to Duke Ellington and auditioned, and Ellington said, how much do you think you're worth? And he said he stepped out and said, well, keeping in mind it's about 1946, I think I can make $100. I think I'm worth $100 a week. Duke said, if that's all you're worth, man, you don't need to be in my band. But anyway, I'm going to do a tune that, we're going to do it in that old, good old, wonderful, laid-back blues style, and it's entitled simply In a Mellow Tone. Not melatonin, mellow tone. And I'm going to take it. I had a case of COVID insomnia last night. I don't have COVID, but it's just a seasonal thing. You know, there's so much, boy, is it a seasonal thing. I had so much on my mind and I couldn't sleep. And I woke up and I turned on, started channel surfing. Lo and behold, I landed on Rocky Mountain PBS, Ken Burns. Ken Burns' wonderful saga on jazz. And the episode I happened to catch for 2 hours, I was riveted. Started at 11 o'clock, was over a little after, 2 minutes after 1, was the episode dealing with Count Basie. And Count Basie, without a doubt, had the swingingest band ever. Nobody could swing like Count Basie. He had Lester Young with him. Coleman Hawkins played with him. And, of course, I'll tell you what, he really, really promoted Billie Holiday's career. And he said as far as he was concerned, Billie Holiday was the greatest jazz singer ever. He said she maybe didn't have the voice, but she had the understanding and she had the feeling for what the true essence of jazz is. And Clark Terry said something, and he was quoted last night as saying, he said, you know, there are two minimalist pianists in the world of jazz. Started off with William Basie, and then Ahmad Jamal. Ahmad Jamal plays rather synthetically. He plays almost impressionistically, but with Basie, less is more. And Clark said, well, what happened when Basie finally got to Kansas City in 1938, he was playing at a little small club. And the club was so small, he said the patrons were right there at his fingertips at the end of the piano. So they'd be playing a tune, and somebody, one of the patrons would say, hey, Basie, hey, Count, you want a little taste? And he said, sure. Now, if you all don't know, for the uninitiated, a taste is an adult beverage, something that is distilled, you know. And he said, well, Count will go over there and, you know, enjoy the patrons and have the cocktail and maybe wander on back to the piano and play a little. And then go over and have another cocktail. And so pretty soon, that just became his MO, his modus operandi, for just being able to create the mood with just a minimum of effort and just swing. And so that was kind of, I got that idea last night. I said, we're going to do that. It may be an Ellington tune, but we're going to put a little Basie swing on it. And here's a song which was composed by a gentleman who was one of the nicest people. In fact, the deacon had a chance to hang out with him on several occasions, and I'm speaking of Dr. Billy Taylor. Billy Taylor is one of the unsung finest pianists who ever sat on a piano bench. Dr. Billy Taylor lived in New York, and he did something for humanity. He founded something called the Jazzmobile. And he took jazz into, where was it, Ron? East Harlem, all over Bronx, Brooklyn. Bronx, And he brought jazz to the people who normally would not have had jazz, those who did not have enough money to pay cover charge nor have a cocktail. And that way, he gave the youngsters an opportunity to play. Well, he created a song, he composed a song. He was very moved by what Dr. Martin Luther King was doing, and he composed this piece, and it really is, it's a gospel piece. It is truly a sacred piece, and it is entitled, I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. And I'll tell you what, the late, great, dynamic Nina Simone took it to another level. You can go on YouTube and catch her performance in 1976 at Montreux Jazz Festival, where she sings it, and there are lyrics to it, and she gives it a whole new dimension. But in reverence and homage to Dr. King and to Dr. Billy Taylor, we're going to play it reverentially. I'll start off. And by the way, there's something I learned last night that I forgot, dealing with Count Basie. Count Basie played with Benny Goodman for a long time, and they had a monumental failure, and then Count Basie left him, and the cats in the Basie band said, well, you know, Basie's, Benny Goodman band had all these charts, those are arrangements, said, but you know, when you got with Bill Basie, he would give you about 6 notes, and the gig would be, or the performance, for those of you who are so terribly Fifth Avenue proper, the performance would be known as performance with head charts. They were composed here on the bandstand. And the guy said, man, we had those notes, and we had all those, just those few notes, all night long. We could play and make everybody swing. So here it is in reverential homage to Dr. Billy Taylor. You know, I wish I knew how it felt to be free. Yep. We have one more tune, and we're going to bring that talented young giant or man, Mr. Cokie Renwick, back, and he's going to do a tune. We're going to close out with Koki. Here's a song that was written by a man whose middle name was Burks. And I forgot to turn the microphone on. Sorry about that, Pete. By the way, let's give a great, those of you who are at home, and those of you in the audience, and those of us on the stage, let's give a wonderful hand to Pete Lewis and Claire Church for creating this magnificent space. They stepped out on faith, and they've done everything to accommodate musicians. And if you've not been here, shame on you. And that's from me. I said shame on you. Lafayette is not that far. I'm not talking about Lafayette, Louisiana. That's Louisiana or Louisiana. No. But anyway, once this thing is over and once, excuse me, they can have more people in the audience, we do want you to support all of the venues. We're very fortunate in Colorado to have these great spaces. And as I said, once again, and the great thing about Pete Lewis and Claire Church is that they spent many years as educators. They're not teachers, they were educators. And you know what? Educators are the most important people next to your parents. I said it, I'll take credit for it, and if you don't like it, call me up. You know, I have love, you can give me $50, but anyway, once again, we bring you a little bit of Black history from Muse Performance Space here in Lafayette, Colorado, and we're going to do a tune written by a man named John Burks Gillespie, alias Dizzy. And here's a little blues called Burks Works, featuring Cokie Renwick. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Koki.